Hey guys, I'm Sammyboy, and this is a replay analysis of an Ember Spirit game we played versus Team VGj.Storm. In this game versus VGj.Storm, we decided to last pick Ember Spirit because of the fact that Ember Spirit was good versus a couple heroes in their draft. Although Ember Spirit isn't great versus heroes like Earthshaker because of the high lockdown, he is good versus heroes like Weaver, being able to lock him down with Searing Chains, good versus heroes like Underlord as well because of the lockdown and making Underlord unable to move. And he's great versus heroes like Ancient Apparition, because Ancient Apparition don't have any lockdown spells. We also picked Ember Spirit because he's great with Lifestealer, able to provide a secondary Lifestealer infest target besides our Puck. And he also is great with heroes that are already able to push towers. Due to the fact that we had a Jakiro, we didn't need a tower pusher out of the mid lane, and I was able to do my job effectively without having to worry about having to push towers. In this game, I started with a little bit of a different build for the mid lane. Because I know I'm versus the enemy Dragon Knight, I started with a Stout Shield, Quelling Blade, Fairy Fire, Iron Branch, and then 2 pooled Tangos. This is because of the fact that Ember Spirit's able to last hit really effectively with a Quelling Blade, and since I'm versus a DK, I don't need to be scared of taking too much harass, and I don't really need a poor man's shield. After that, I immediately start the lane with the Bounty Rune, but I don't even buy a salve. I don't buy a salve and I decide to rush a bottle because I'm not really going to be taking any harass damage from the DK, and I feel that the tangos are about as much as I need. During the lane, I'm trying to focus on just trying to get as much CS as possible while waiting for him to use Dragon Breath. I don't want to use my Flame Guard before he uses Dragon Breath because if I do, it'll get immediately cancelled. As you see there, as soon as he popped Dragon Breath, I immediately pop Flame Guard and start pushing out my wave. During the lane as well, I'm going to be constantly trying to just pull the creep wave back to my range creep, try to split the wave, and try to get the CS. My Night Stalker rotates in and does a bit of harass damage for me, but I'm just kind of focused on getting as much CS out of the lane as possible, as we don't generally have kill potential on this DK this early. Again, my Jakiro is able to rotate in, get a bit of harass damage on the DK, but I'm not really too focused on trying to go for any kills because he's a pretty tanky hero and he does have a lot of armor at level 1. I do get fissured off by the Earthshaker, but I still don't want to pop Flame Guard until level 3. As soon as I hit level 3, I pop my Flame Guard because I know that level 2 Dragon Breath from DK isn't enough to break my Flame Guard, and I'm able to push the wave. This allows me to go either get a rune or do something else on the map after I push out the wave. Luckily, I get an Arcane Rune in the top lane, and I'm going to be able to push the lane again with Flame Guard soon. In general, when I'm trying to last hit under tower, I just try to focus on getting the last hits and not the denies. This is because, in general, with Quelling Blade against another melee hero, it's really difficult to get any denies at all, and so you should be more focused on just trying to get last hits instead of trying to go for denies. Right here as well, when I get my boots from the courier, I'm immediately going to try to play aggressive on him with the Arcane Rune. That said, I am still trying to get as many last hits as possible, but due to the fact that I have an Arcane Rune, I'm able to pop Flame Guard and then I'm going to be able to pop it again later. I'm trying to generally pressure his lane because DK doesn't really have any good deep push against Flame Guard. That said, after I pop Flame Guard again, I'm going to look to push out the wave and then maybe try to get a rune. It is a little scary to go for the rune because I don't really have too much good rune vision, and after I go for top rune and I find the DK doesn't get it, I'm able to immediately run to the bot rune and get that rune because the DK looked and missed the top rune. Again, I got kind of lucky on runes this game, so it shouldn't always be that easy to get rune control. Here I pop Flame Guard and then immediately pop my Invis. This is so that I can get on top of the DK without him noticing and then secure all the last hits in the wave. After that, I decide to go for a Veil this game. I go for a Veil due to the fact that magic damage is really good versus DK and it's really good versus Underlord. In general, DK is really strong versus physical damage, and Underlord is really strong versus physical damage as well. Due to this fact, I want to get a lot of magic damage burst and be able to fight their heroes effectively. I also want the Veil because armor is really good this game. When you're playing versus Weaver who has bugs and wants to take away your armor, Getting a Veil can be really effective at giving you enough armor to survive and take fights in the early game or in the mid game. Here, I know that the DK is level 6 and I know that the Earthshaker is missing off the map, so I want to play kind of scared, because if I get stunned by the Earthshaker and the DK before I was level 6, I would have just died. You see here that the AA and the DK rotate in and they pop DK's ulti to try to get my tower. Here again, I'm playing really defensive because I don't know where the Earthshaker is, but we do go in for a gank after my Night Stalker rotates in. I pop all my remnants to try to get on top of the DK and try to get a kill here. I do end up dying, but in my opinion, that's worth it for us, because I'm able to get the solo kill on the DK and their supports don't get too much out of it. They do get a bit of experience and gold, but in general, I'd rather snowball my own game than worry about what the supports are getting. After I respawn, I'm looking to see if there's a gank opportunity in the bot lane, but decide to go back mid due to the fact that mid is going to be pushing into my tower. Again here, I just pop Flameguard to try to push out the wave as quickly as possible. My Night Stalker is rotating in for a gank as well, so I'm looking and being ready to try to gank this DK. If you look at my skill build as well, I didn't go for a 4th point in Flameguard. This is due to the fact that DK only has a nuke that does up to around 300 damage, so no matter what happens, my Flameguard will generally never get broken by just the DK. This means that I want to go for Searing Chains levels to try to do more burst damage to him, instead of going for the Flameguard levels. Again here, I'm just popping Flameguard to push out the wave and then try to go get a rune. Again, luckily, I get the regen rune top where I had vision. I'm able to secure the rune and then go back to lane. Right here, I made a mistake. I didn't have a remnant up behind me against the DK when I know the Earthshaker is missing. This was a really bad mistake, as it lost me my mid tower. If I had a remnant in advance, I probably would have had time to just remnant out, I could have regen runed up and then defended my tower. But due to the fact that I didn't have a remnant prepped in advance, I just fed a kill there. I did place a remnant in advance, and so I was able to come back to my remnant mid and play really aggressive on the DK. I get stunned, but I still am going to remnant forward with my regen rune and try to go for this kill. Unfortunately, the shrine gets popped and I'm unable to go for the solo kill. Although I would be close if the Weaver wasn't in the area, but that's something that should be accounted for, in that Weaver was missing from bottom, and I should be wary of that. Overall though, the play was good because I was able to get a lot of harass damage. And then again, I go for another kill here, and I'm able to use all my remnants, burst them, and go all the way in to get the solo kill. This is important on Ember Spirit because I lost my tower, so I need to be playing aggressive, trying to make any plays happen that I can. And also, I'm able to see the Earthshaker and AA in the top lane. When I see both the supports playing in the lane, I need to make sure that I'm playing aggressive in my lane. I can't be letting the supports play in my top lane and pressure my top lane without also pressuring the mid lane. We see here I place my remnant towards the bottom rune so that when I come back I can instantly go and try to get it quickly. That said, it could have been taken earlier, but that's a gamble I'm willing to take. After that, I rotate to the bot lane. Due to the fact that my mid lane tower is gone, I don't really need to defend it. So I rotate to the bot lane to try to push the bot tower. I did have a DD rune, so it was kind of lucky, but in general, I wouldn't have needed it anyway. I'm using remnants there to look in the trees and try to find the enemy supports, but unfortunately I missed them. We still are able to chase down this Earthshaker and get the kill, and then we're going to be able to push the bottom tower. And due to the fact that I rotated to the bottom lane, my Night Stalker is getting a ton of levels and experience in the mid lane. This is really important, as sometimes when you rotate out of your lane, your support's able to get a lot of levels and catch up effectively, because my Night Stalker wasn't having too great a game before that. Right here, I TP top because I see them diving my teammate. I'm able to go and get the AA kill. I do miss the Weaver kill, unfortunately, but sometimes that happens. After my Veil, I decide to go into Boots of Travel. This is just so that I can move around the map and split push really easily. After that, I'm deciding to go back to the mid lane. My Night Stalkers had a good amount of space, and I kind of want to just go and pressure this Underlord. Or at least just push out the wave. After that, I'm going to go jungle a camp. This is something that's really important on Ember Spirit, as in between pushing out lanes, you want to try to jungle maybe one camp. or at least get a bounty rune or a real rune. This is kind of the factor of being able to push the wave so quickly with Flame Guard. After that, I see the Earthshaker bottom able to bots to his lane and get another kill. It is important to recognize opportunities using Boots of Travel, and again, by going to the bottom lane, I'm opening space for my Jakiro on the map. My Jakiro, again, didn't have too much farm, and so it's pretty important that he gets space opened up for him at some point during the game. Right here, I go on the AA, but that was kind of an ill-advised dive. I didn't see anyone else on the map, and I just saw the AA, and I gambled that he was alone. Sometimes that gamble might work out, and the AA might actually be alone, and we could just get a nice pick-off on the AA, but it's not always worth it. It was kind of a risky play, and it didn't work out for me there. So, in general, especially against heroes like Earthshaker, you have to be super wary about when they're not showing on the map, and where they might be. I can also look at the fact that my bot lane was pushing in and no one was really showing in that lane, and kind of assume that they're playing around the top lane and realize that that's not a great idea. Here again, I'm just using Flame Guard to push out the wave, then we go on the Underlord. I use all 3 of my remnants to try to burst him, and make sure that he gets killed before he's able to walk out of the Pit of Malice and escape from us. Using all 3 remnants to burst people like that during ganks is pretty important, and you're going to do it a lot. But then I need to play safe and just kind of split the lanes during my downtime between remnants. As you see here, I go to the bottom lane to split push. This is just because I don't have any remnants up, and there's not really a way for me to engage a gank during this time. I do see my team fighting during the mid lane though, and I could rotate over. I'm looking to see if that rotation would be good or not, but instead I notice my Jakiro is just going to die, and I'd rather just stay and split push the lane. Right here as well, you'll see I don't have a remnant back. This is because I'm saving my remnants to try to go for a kill on this Weaver. As long as I see the Earthshaker farming a lane, I know that I don't need to have a remnant back. That said, it does end up costing me, as you see there. I remnant in, and instead of being able to remnant back immediately, I place a remnant forward. This ends up costing me a kill, and letting me just feed a death. After I had gone in on the Weaver, I should have immediately tried to remnant back and away from the enemy team instead of going towards them. This was kind of a mechanical error, but it's also an error in judgment. After I respawn, I'm trying to look for where I want to be on the map. And I look and I see my Puck split pushing the top lane and no one in the bot lane. As Ember Spirit, I kind of want to be playing the dangerous areas of the map as long as I know that the Earthshaker doesn't have a +1 to just burst me immediately. So I decided to go straight to the bot lane. You'll see me earlier place a remnant on that large camp. This is so that after I split push the wave, I can go straight back and farm that large camp. This is pretty important for Ember Spirit, as when I use remnants, I want to make sure that I'm going to the objective that I want to be at. So either a rune, or a camp, or something of that nature. I end up not even farming it because I go to smoke, but it's still important to just place the remnants in important positions. I group up with my team and we smoke to the top lane. This is due to the fact that the Weaver was showing on the map and we want to take this top tower. Unfortunately, the Weaver walks into us and we're unable to get a clean initiation on him. And I end up missing my Sleight of Fist Searing Chains combo due to the fact that I got fogged. The way that Sleight of Fist Searing Chains works is that if you use Sleight of Fist on a hero that's in fog, you have to be really quick about using Searing Chains. And because I wasn't quick enough, I ended up just missing the combo entirely. When you have vision, it's generally a lot easier to hit. But when you're trying to do it in fog, make sure that you're really quick about the button presses and you don't miss it. That said, it is kind of random, and I'm not really sure what causes me to miss it and what causes me to be able to hit it on heroes in fog. This game, I decided to go straight for the Radiance. This is because I felt I needed to split push a ton, and if I get initiated on, I'm going to end up dying anyway. For example, if I get fissured and then blinked on by Earthshaker, I'm going to end up just exploding, and there's nothing I can really do about that, and no item is really going to save me. So, I just should go for the item that lets me split push the fastest, such as a Radiance, and lets me push out waves quicker. So that way I don't have to just stand in lane, ready to be initiated on. Here, you'll see that we could be going for the Underlord, but I see the Earthshaker ready to initiate on my team, so I try to remnant on top of him, and I force him to blink back. Although we aren't able to get any kills there, that play was really good, because I was able to jump on top of their initiator. And if Earthshaker hadn't got his blink off in time, we would have just got a free pick on the Earthshaker and then been able to push the mid tower. That was, if anything, a really good play by the Earthshaker to have really good reaction times and avoid that. Here, since I see my lifestealer in the bot lane and my puck in the top lane, I'm just jungling in the meantime. Until that Earthshaker shows, I was kind of scared of playing. As soon as that Earthshaker shows, notice how I TP mid immediately and try to get the lane out. This is because that once I see where the Earthshaker is, I don't have any fear of dying. This is really important, as I'm playing around where the Earthshaker is. I'm trying to split push where he's not. This is really important in Dota, especially because if I don't know where the Earthshaker is, if I push the mid lane before he shows, I could just end up feeding another death. Again here, I'm trying to defend my high ground, so I chain the Underlord, and then I burst him with all my remnants so he can't get his ulti off. After that, I immediately TP to the bot lane to try to split push again. I farm this camp in the downtime between when the lane's going to come closer to me and where the Weaver is. I don't really want to walk up to the Weaver right now because I hadn't seen the Earthshaker. I see the Earthshaker show mid, and then I know I can push this lane safely. Again, I'm just trying to play around where the Earthshaker is on the map. Because of the fact that this Earthshaker is farming mid too, it's allowing me to split push. This is really important in games, and it's one of the key points I would emphasize is playing around what vision you have and what lanes are pushed. Because whenever Earthshaker is showing on the map, I know I can always be in a lane. I saw him mid pretty recently, so I feel really safe about just split pushing this tower. My team does take a fight mid, so I rotate to the mid lane and try to go and make something happen. I remnant forward and use Sleight of Fish chains to catch an enemy hero there, and I tried to catch them as quickly as possible, but also using my range from my remnant and Sleight of Fist to catch them from really far away. At this point in the game, I'm telling my team that I just want to farm. If I look at my Radiance timing, it's going to be in around, 500, 600 gold, and I just want to farm it. I see the Earthshaker top, so I feel safe to split push bottom, and so I'm going to play really aggressive on this lane and try to just get this tower. There, we see me kind of Sleight of Fist the wave and then Remnant out. This is because I was kind of scared of the Earthshaker maybe having TP'd in, so I Sleight of Fist and then Remnant immediately to minimize the amount of time that I'm actually in the lane and I'm actually showing and able to be stunned. Right here, I finish my Radiance and I immediately want to go fight with my team after I split push a wave. I know that the Underlord is somewhere around the top lane, so I feel pretty safe being in this part of the map. And I also see the rest of their heroes, or the Earthshaker. And since the Earthshaker is not showing on the map right now, I don't really want to split push that far deep. As soon as he shows, I rotate up to the top lane and try to fight him, because of the fact that bot lane was so far pushed in. Here, I immediately initiate on the Earthshaker because he's the most important hero on their team. After that, I just try to stay on top of the DK and do as much damage as possible when his BKB runs out. I also use my remnants aggressively to try to get on top of the enemy team. At this point in the game, I'm thinking about what item I want to go. I could be going for a Lincoln Sphere, or I could go for an item like Blink Dagger to make my initiations easier. The reason that Lincoln Sphere is really good this game is that it prevents me getting stunned by DK, so it means that then there's only one threat on the map, and that's the Earthshaker. Right here, I see that my team is taking Roshan. But instead of hitting it, I'm trying to just zone the enemy hero. So for example there, instead of just going into the Roshan pit and hitting it, because I'm an Ember Spirit and don't really do damage, I'm just looking to Sleight of Fist the enemy heroes that are coming up and coming near me. This makes it so that my team can safely take Roshan without having to be scared of initiation. Right here, I see that the enemy team all rotated to Roshan and all rotated to the top part of the map. So I immediately go and try to split push the bottom part of the map with a Remnant so I can safely come back to Roshan. We see them smoke there, so I'm preparing to come back to that Remnant as soon as it's a good idea and it's looking like there's going to be a fight. But until then, I know that they're smoking on the top half of the map, so I'm going to play really aggressive in the bot lane and try to split push as much as I can. Right here again, we see them walking to Roshan, so I TP to get ready to defend Roshan. I don't really want to play into Underlord's Pit of Malice, so instead I go around and then I chain the Underlord and burst him with all my remnants. Unfortunately, I don't get the complete burst off, but I'm still able to get into the middle of the fight with all my remnants and get a good amount of burst damage off. Right here, I'm chasing the Weaver, trying to get my Radiance burn. Right there, I might have been able to live if I had used my Sleight of Fist and Searing Chains combo on the Weaver before his attacks had gone off. It's kind of a quick reaction speed play, but it's something that I definitely could have pulled off, and it's kind of a misplay for me not being able to do it. Despite that, because of the fact that I was able to go in immediately with all my remnants and burst the Underlord, we were able to win the fight, and we were able to get Roshan off of that. This is really important, as getting Roshan in any game is going to really accelerate the way that you guys can farm the map, and also maybe even push towers or high ground. I'm finishing up my Lincolns as well, because of the fact that the DK stun is the main threat after the Earthshaker. And, in general, I'm going to be looking to initiate on the Earthshaker, and try to prevent him from initiating on me. Therefore, that the main threat in the game is going to be that DK stun. Also, the enemy team doesn't really have any other good ways to break my Lincolns. The only other way that the enemy team can break my Lincoln Sphere is using AA's Cold Feet, and in general AA won't be wanting to use Cold Feet on me. This means that my Lincoln Sphere can only block one spell, and that's DK stun, and that's the most important spell in the game. Along with that, it also helps my team high ground, because if I put my Lincoln Sphere on my Lifestealer, he's able to walk up on the high ground without fear of being stunned by DK or cold feeted by the AA. I see my team rotating to the bot lane, and I don't see anyone on the map, so I'm kind of scared of showing at this point in the game. I place a remnant near the mid lane so I can get back there, and then go to the top lane to push this one wave out. Again, I'm kind of scared about showing, so I'm kind of hesitant about what I actually want to do, just due to the fact that the Earthshaker hasn't showed on the map. I see the Weaver and the DK rotate up here, as well as the Earthshaker and the Underlord due to a nice ward that we have. So then I decide to walk back, play deeper in my jungle, and wait for the wave to push closer to me. Right there, you'll notice that I actually just avoided Mud Golems in a camp. This is something that's really important on heroes like Ember Spirit and Storm Spirit, where if you find Mud Golems, it's just not efficient to farm them. I'd rather just go to a different camp than spend my time farming a Mud Golem. Right there, I place a remnant in trees so I can get back to the top lane and split push, and then TP mid to help my team when they're pushing high ground. After my team decides to back off and they use Glyph, I rotate back to the top lane using my remnant and start split pushing that lane again. This is because, again, I saw the Earthshaker in their base ready to defend, so I know that I can safely split push the top lane. This entire game as Ember Spirit is all about playing around where this Earthshaker is. Earthshaker is a really good hero versus Ember Spirit, and makes you kind of change how you play, because I definitely can't split push lanes as aggressively as I want to. But it just means you have to change where you're playing on the map and how you're playing on the map based on where the Earthshaker is. My team takes a good fight mid, and they get 3 kills off of it. I'm rotating in on the back end of that fight, but I'm not really able to do anything. So I rotate to the secret shop to finish my Lincoln Sphere, and then go and split push another lane top. The Weaver starts to cut our wave, and it might have been good for me to actually be with my team here, and we might have been able to kill the Weaver. But instead I rotated to split push this lane, because I didn't expect the Weaver to try to cut our lane as aggressively. It's not necessarily a bad play, just a different play I could have made, as if I had anticipated the Weaver trying to cut our lane, I could have stayed there and maybe been able to get a kill. I tried to TP to the range creep there, which probably was a mistake, and it ends up with me not being able to get there in the first place. Here, I'm trying to stay around so I can get my Lifestealer inside of me for the infest and save him, but unfortunately he's just not able to get inside me quick enough, and he gets blown up and dies. Right here, you see I chain the Earthshaker so that he can't get on top of my team, and I can try to save my heroes. I'm trying to just play in the back of the fight and constantly use Sleight of Fist and Searing Chains to delay them and try to save my teammates. Right here, the enemy team's looking to high ground, so I'm trying to just push out the mid wave and then rotate to the top wave to start using Sleight of Fist Searing Chains again on their heroes. Right here, I get fissured by a really nice fissure from the Earthshaker, and I almost die, but I'm able to Sleight of Fist and then remnant away really quickly. That was a great timed fissure by the Earthshaker, and it caught me really off guard, and I didn't have a remnant prepared to dodge that. That said, you'll notice that as soon as they win on me, I just pop Sleight of Fist right on top of all their heroes and then try to remnant, because Sleight of Fist gives me that invulnerability phase and it lets me get my remnants off. For my next item, I decided to go for a Blink Dagger. This is because I felt like I just needed to be able to initiate on their team without having to use all 3 of my remnants. Blink Dagger is a great item on Ember Spirit, and it also lets me split push more effectively, as I can go to a lane, Sleight of Fist, and then blink out of the lane before the Earthshaker can initiate on me. That said, it's not always the greatest item in this game because it doesn't really give me any damage or survivability, and it's more of a mobility item that lets me kind of outplay the enemy team. You shouldn't always look to outplay the enemy team, but when they have stuns, like Earthshaker's stun, Blink Dagger can be really important because Earthshaker telegraphs his stun really hard with a really long cast animation, so it means that as soon as I see him start casting it, I can blink and maybe dodge it. It also lets me do a couple things around Underlord, because if I see Underlord places Pit of Malice or any other spell, I can always dodge it and blink around it. Same thing with AA. With his Vortex, I can blink around the Vortex instead of having to walk through it. Right here, my team smokes under a ward, so I decided to go in a different direction. Because of the fact that we smoked under a ward and they know where my team is probably going, I decided to rotate to the side shop, get my Blink Dagger, and then just look to bots near creeps on my team. When the lanes are pushing like this, it's important that you're always using bots to get towards your team. And maybe not as important that you actually stay with them. Because instead of being with them, I was able to split push the bottom lane, get another wave in, and then farm the jungle efficiently. You'll see here, I farm that jungle camp just by using my Radiance Burn instead of walking down to the low ground, and this means that I'm able to farm a different camp quicker. That said again, if you look at our waves, they're all pushing in, so we know something's up. Generally, if all waves are kind of pushed into the enemy base and no one is defending them, the enemy's trying to make a play on you. So, none of us are showing on the map, including me, until one of them decides to show in a lane and lets us know where they are. This happens when the Underlord pushes out mid and the Weaver pushes out bottom, and this makes me feel safe to be able to push out top. But I'm still not feeling too safe, so I remnant out quickly. This is something that you should always be doing, is that if you don't know where the enemy is and you're kind of scared, just go to a lane, split pushes as fast as possible, and then immediately use your Rem to get out of there. Don't wait for them to try to initiate on you or them to try to stun you, just remnant out and get out quickly instead of maybe feeding a death. Here we see the Earthshaker in the bot lane, so then we don't feel as scared playing around the top part of the map. Weaver's trying to split push us aggressively, but since we saw the Earthshaker in the bot part of the map, we go and take Roshan very quickly and we're able to get it off. This is important with how all their lanes were split pushed. It was my job, generally, me and Puck's job, to split push all the lanes, so that when Roshan spawned, the enemy had to be replying to lanes and had to be showing on the map. That way we could take Roshan safely. Right here again, even though no one is showing on the map, I feel pretty safe to push out this wave, but I'm going to be doing it as quickly as possible using Veil and using my Flame Guard and Radiance. After this, I'm not so sure if I feel safe to push out the next wave, so I just rotate into the jungle and away from the lane. My next item in this game is going to be Octavine Core. Octavine Core is a great late game item on Ember Spirit because it gives you a ton of more mobility with lowering your Boots of Travel cooldown, lowering your Remnant cooldowns, and lowering your Sleight of Fist and Syrian Chain cooldowns, as well as Flame Guard, allowing you to split push faster. This can be really important with both of your level 25 talents, as the plus 2 second Syrian Chains talent works really well with Octavine Core, and the 20% cooldown reduction talent also works super well with Octavine Core. In general, Octavine Core late game on Ember Spirit is probably one of the best items that he can ever build. Not only that, but it also makes you tankier in fights as well, which is an underrated aspect, and gives you that healing from your Radiance and Flame Guard and stuff like that. Right here, I see the DK showing in the top lane, so I feel pretty safe to push out the bot lane. And also, my team is around me, and I know that they're probably not playing in this part of the map, so I feel really safe to just split push. Again, we have really good wards in the top lane, and I'm able to kind of just play around this bottom half of the map, and kind of avoid the enemy team at this point, and then let my team group up and we can maybe push high ground off of this. Here, I'm playing the frontliner due to the fact that my lifestealer is infested in the puck, but we want to get our lanes in before we try to high ground them. I see top lane is pushing in, and I see that the DK, Weaver, and Underlord are showing on the map, which means that I can safely go to the top lane with a Remnant in the bot lane, split push it out, and then go back to the bot lane if I need to. I also see the Earthshaker in the bot lane, which means that I can play really aggressive on this lane and split push as much as I want. A kind of cool play happens here. I noticed that all 4 of the heroes rotated on me, and I immediately remnant back to the bot lane. And now, we've created a bunch of space on the map. All 4 heroes rotated to me on the top lane, and then we're back on the bot lane, able to split push this lane as well. We're constantly just moving the enemy team around the map, and this is kind of how you should be playing Ember Spirit at this point in the game. I go to the top lane and I root the Underlord because I know he's the only one up there. But then I see that the Earthshaker TP'd up on top of me with that ward. This means that we can high ground really easily. That was actually a really important play, as because of the fact that Earthshaker TP'd to the top lane, he's not able to be here for this high ground push when we're fighting, and he's not actually able to be here in this fight. Right here, a kind of important play happens. I see the Earthshaker and Underlord, and I go on top of them and I use all my remnants and I burst them. This was super important, as those were the two most important heroes in the fight, and I stopped their initiation. Again, I use remnants to try to avoid dying, but right here, I actually just buy back and come back with my boots of travel. I know that this is a fight that is going to be kind of game ending, and so I want to be here no matter what. I decided to go for the +2 second Searing Chains cooldown this game, as it's really good versus Weaver. I'm able to get a bunch of kills. Unfortunately, Weaver actually dodges my remnant there with his ultimate, which was really good. But I'm still able to just get the kill with my puck, and we're able to just team wipe them completely due to the fact that I bought back. While I'm bought back, my team's able to take all their buildings as well, and I'm able to make space for them. This is really important on Ember Spirit, as in general, when your team is taking buildings, you want to be making space for them, because you don't really do any good building damage. In general, my game plan this game was just to constantly split push the map whenever I saw the Earthshaker and constantly create pressure. We had great pick-off potential with our Night Stalker, our Puck, and our Lifestealer, and we also had pretty good split push potential and high ground potential with our Jakiro. This means that my job in general was just to try to create as much space on the map by split pushing lanes constantly. Now, I did have to be scared of the Earthshaker, and it did change our game plan with how I wanted to play, but it just means that I have to play a little safer when split pushing, and I have to move around the map in a way that makes the Earthshaker unable to catch me easily. In general, as well, our game plan this game was just to hit our timings around Roshan. As soon as we got that second Aegis, and I was level 25, we knew that we could take a high ground fight, and we wanted to just go high ground and try to take a Rax. That said, when we were trying to take a Rax, we were still trying to move them around the map. As you see, when we were going high ground, I was constantly TPing to the top lane, pressuring that lane in, and then trying to rotate people to my lane so that I could remnant back to the other lane, push high ground with my team, and we could take a good fight. You'll also notice in that fight, in that last fight, how I immediately initiated on the backline and used all my remnants. This can be super important on Ember Spirit, as in general, during that game is one of the games where if I go in, even if I die and I use all my remnants and I burst their important heroes, it's totally fine. Sometimes on Ember Spirit, you're going to need to use all your remnants, go in, and then just die for the team, essentially. Even if that might not be the best for your game, it's the best for your team's game. During this game, make sure to watch out for a couple different things. For example, I knew that the Earthshaker was the only hero that could pressure me and actually kill me on the map. So I made sure that whenever he was showing, I was split pushing a lane, but when he wasn't showing, I was playing kind of passive and not really wanting to show in lanes. Also, in general, look for the key threats during fights. During these fights, I was constantly going in and bursting the Earthshaker or the Underlord or the key people that I wanted to get rid of in the fight. I can kite around the Weaver and we can kite around the DK, but if the Underlord and Earthshaker are still in the fights, they're going to get all their lockdown spells off and the fights are going to be really difficult. As well, make sure that you're constantly rotating from lane to lane and you're not just sticking in a lane and sitting there. Constantly be pressuring lanes and then moving with your team or moving to another lane so that the enemy team is forced to try to follow you around the map. It's really important on Ember Spirit to set the pace of the game. By setting the pace of the game and making the enemy respond to what I'm doing, we're able to farm the map quicker and we're going to out-efficiency them over time. But if I had been responding to what they're doing, for example if they're split pushing and I'm responding to their split push, the game becomes really different and the game becomes kind of hard. Thanks so much for watching, and if you have any comments, leave them down below.